Good evening, guys. How we doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. Running a little bit late. We had a couple of internet issues, but we are here. With me, my two guys, Mr. Idris Salam out in North Carolina, Mr. Mike Zappy, San Antonio, Texas.
That's right, Texas.
And I'm in my mama's house. I was fighting off the itis, trying to wake up. Just had me an espresso, so time to roll. It is our NBA playoff preview. And the table is set. We know who's going where and who's playing who. Eastern Conference, Western Conference, kind of two different dynamics if you ask me. I kind of feel that the West is going to be the tougher one to forecast out of the two conferences.
It's definitely, the East, it seems like we've been saying, it's going to be a 4-team horse, maybe a 5th team will rise. But out of the West, you can make an argument for the top 8, each and every one of them. I'm not going to say so much about the Wolves or the Pelicans, especially now that Zion's out. But yeah, the West is definitely the one to watch this year.
Yeah, some of these lower seeded teams, we said it earlier today, they do have some championship pedigree on those rosters that can, potentially get those upsets. Because when I look at the East, I look at the lower tiers. I don't see it. I don't see that upset. I don't. After your top 4 teams, 5 technically, because Cleveland is the 4 seed. But past that, no. 6 through 10, I don't see anybody that's going to make a real run.
Yeah, and I guess the only team that I can make an argument for, possibly because they've been there, is the Miami Heat. Mm-hmm. That's about it. But we're talking about a team that they still have to play Atlanta first in the play-in, and then after that, they're going to go on and play against Boston.
Well, let's start there. We're going to start there.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because a lot of people going into the season did not see the Miami Heat as a team that would be playing in the play-in tournament. Most people would have probably said that it would be the Knicks instead of the Heat. But after the Josh Hart trade, we saw the Knicks, how they closed the gap, maintained that distance from Miami, and then they struck when they needed to, and they never let go of that 6th seed or that 5th seed after that. So, or 6th seed, right?
We have 5, and Julius Randle had that big walk-off 3 in Miami. Weeks earlier, the Knicks beat them in the Garden. Miami did avenge that second loss to us on their home floor in a separate meeting. But yes, the Knicks just were a better team during the course of the last 8 weeks of the season, and that's why they are where they are, getting a much more favorable situation than Miami. As the game goes, I actually think this could be very close. Atlanta, for the better part of the last 2.5 years, has essentially been a 500 team. They literally win like every other game. There is no consistency. The only thing they are consistently do is mediocrity. And as Miami goes, it's a prove-it kind of situation all the way around. We talked earlier today, Jimmy Butler could get moved. I like Miami in this game, though, but I don't think it's going to be that wide of a margin.
I agree. Miami, Jimmy Butler is put up a shut up, man. You've been there, 3-4 years now, 5 years. And you got to the bubble title. Basically got beat down there. Ever since then, it's been a roller coaster. You got Atlanta in the play-in game. You got to beat Atlanta because it's been ever since that first year, Trey's first year. Atlanta's just been a rocky team. You got to beat them.
And it's crazy, too, because this is a team that went out and said, okay, we're a 500 team. What do we need to do to get better and to close the gap? They go out and get a Dejounte Murray from the San Antonio Spurs, and they're still a 500 team, So it's just something that needs to be done.
A couple of years ago, there was a coaching change. I just don't see them since the 2020 season when they beat the Knicks in the first round and Trae Young kind of ascended, especially playing in that Madison Square Garden atmosphere. But since then, as a team, they just have not recaptured what they accomplished that year.
I see them like how Memphis is. they started smelling themselves after that 2020 year. They go, we're coming up. Because I used to go down to Atlanta and see how we're Atlanta. I have my Knicks stuff. What's up with the Knicks? I said, don't be too happy.
Yeah.
And they fired David Miller in the beginning of the season, and they haven't done any better since they brought in a new coach. So I'm like, what are you guys doing? You're living off 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Since then, you've been 500 at best, maybe 540. I mean,
Yeah, they have struggled indeed, and it's hard to figure what really is the catalyst or what's causing this to happen. That they have not gone necessarily up or down. They're kind of frustratingly right in the middle. I like Miami for the win.
yeah.
I'm going to go Miami 115, Atlanta 107.
Yeah, I was about to make a very similar prediction of an 8-point game. If you look at the season series between the 4 teams, Miami is 3-1. 2 of those games they won by 8. One of them they won by 12, and the game they lost they won by 8. So that tends to be the area. Now, as far as the score goes, I'm going to go more along the lines of 107 to 99. I'm looking for Jimmy Butler to have a game, but I think Bam Adebayo is going to have himself a big game just against Atlanta, and they'll take that series in preparation for Boston.
I also don't necessarily think that past Trey they have enough answers in Atlanta, and I think that's another reason why they don't win this ball game.
I'm going 110, 100.
Okay. Well, we are in favor of the Heat. Now, the Heat, if we are all correct, will be heading to Boston as a 7 seed. Your thoughts on that? I'll put it to you bluntly. Boston in 5. Miami steals game 4 after being down 3-0, and the Celtics will end it in 5. I'll give Miami 1 game.
I give them game 3, but I say 5 games.
I think this series is a lot closer, actually. I like the matchups. I mean, if you look at the season series between the 2 of them, they went 2-2. Atlanta. Miami won 1 in Boston and then 1 in Miami. Like I said, what I like this Miami team, you can't count them out because they do have that championship pedigree. They've been there a couple years ago. Granted, it was during the COVID-shortened season, during the Mickey Mouse Championship, but nevertheless, Eric Spoelstra is a good coach for a reason. He will have these guys ready. I think it'll go 6. I think that Miami will be able to sneak a game out of there early on. But just Boston, this is a team that just was in the finals last season. They look like they want to go back. Yeah, I have Boston winning this series in 6.
That's what I meant 6, my bad. I'm thinking 5. Yeah, I'm saying 6, yeah. I think they'll win game 3. They may take another one, but I think, I think 6, my bad.
So we're all in agreement. Miami Heat over the Hawks. And in my case, I got the Celtics winning in 5. Zappy and Idris are talking 6. Either way, they got the Boston Celtics advancing to the second round out of the events here. We're going to move it along to the other Eastern Conference playing game. The Toronto Raptors against the Chicago Bulls, 9 versus 10. Winner will face the 1-seeded Milwaukee Bucks. Not exactly a reward for winning. I'm going to go with the Bulls here. I think the Bulls are going to play a better game. I feel that they're going to win the turnover battle in this game. And I actually believe, at least for one day, they're going to emulate a team that we thought they were going to be coming into this year, what a lot of people felt they should have been. Definitely a step backwards after what they accomplished last year. But I do like the Chicago Bulls. I'm going to go 106-100 in favor of the Chicago Bulls.
I'm going to go Toronto, man. I think it's going to go low scoring, 103-97. I just think I just don't have any confidence in Chicago.
I don't have confidence in either one of these teams. I just think on this particular day, the Bulls are going to be better. But, neither result would necessarily surprise me.
Yeah, I'm going Toronto. Toronto close.
The Bulls, they went out. They've obviously been without Lonzo Ball for a while. So they go out and they sign a Patrick Beverley during the season after he had been traded multiple times. Zach LaVine's got to show out. He's got to show out, and he hasn't. He does show out at times, but it seems to be whenever it's not too big of a game. This is a big game. but I'm going with Toronto.
Yeah, I think
I'm going with Toronto on this one.
Yeah, I think Siakam, Van Fleet. I mean, he's championship pedigree. So I just think they're going to pick it up.
Well, that's true. I mean, going back, yes, indeed, that is factual.
And Siakam also. So I think they'll.
Yeah, and you look at the season between the two of them. Chicago did defeat them one time, but when they were in Toronto, they struggled. There's just something about crossing country boundaries for Chicago that they just don't play well in Toronto, and that's kind of what I'm expecting to happen again this time. I think it's going to be a similar game to you, Idris, where it's going to be a 6-point game. I have a hard time believing one of them will reach 100. I'm going to go more along the lines of 97 to 91, but yeah, I think Toronto, just because they're at home and with the Bulls not having Lonzo, that's a big piece, and I just don't see them being able to advance.
Another reason why I hope the Bulls pull this off is because I don't want Drake to win.
Oh, he's already won one. He's good.
While we talk about the Canadian curse, I also do want to make a mention that Hulk Hogan never was quite able to win in that town in Toronto.
Whoever wins is going to go to the
Losses to the Ultimate Warrior and The Rock. Just wanted to mention that.
whoever wins is going to the chopping block.
Yeah, both these teams have a lot of work to do, no matter who's the winner. I almost feel stupid for even asking this question. Should the Bulls win, as I predict? Should the Raptors win, as both of you predict? Do either one of these teams have a snowball's chance in hell to pull off a gargantuan upset against the one-seeded Bucks?
I wouldn't even give them a snowball.
Nope. 4-0 Bucks over both these teams. I'm confident in saying that.
Either team could sneak away a win, but no, that'll be one of the only sweeps in the playoffs this year.
I'm going for one. I think one of them might get lucky, like 3 games down, and
If somebody's going to get lucky, I would say it would be Toronto because of the fact of the travel aspect, where Chicago and Milwaukee are relatively close to each other. But I do think the Bulls are going to advance. We shall see. You two are against me on this one.
Which is crazy, too.
Right. Thank you, Missy. Just representing for the store.
Represent.
We're going to move it along to the series that I'm most interested in round one. The New York Knickerbockers at 5 taking on Cleveland Cavaliers at 4. Interesting stat here. The Knicks almost traded for Donovan Mitchell, who is the Cavs' best player currently. Mitchell ultimately was traded there from Utah. Knicks have a newfound defensive presence. Zappy has spoken on him many a time. Josh Hart. And Jalen Brunson has emerged as the Knicks' best player. Don't tell Julius Randle that. This season, his first in New York, and we have talked about the trajectory of the Mavericks after letting Brunson go versus the trajectory of the Knicks since acquiring Brunson. Zappy, I'm going to let you start here because I have a feeling that you might say something hateful and ridiculous. So I'm going to get it out of the way early, picking Cleveland or just saying something ridiculous. So you first.
All right. This is the most, in my honest opinion, in the East, this is the most interesting series. To me, this is a very evenly matched series. I like both of these teams. I like what we're going to see from both, and I think it's going to come down to one thing and one thing only, and that's Tom Thibodeau. I have this series going 7, and I think it's going to be a hard-fought 7 for the New York Knicks, but I do believe the Knicks will be able to pull this one off on the road in Game 7, which will, in fact, hurt them in the second round because of how tired they will be.
Valid. Idris, you're up. Your thoughts on this series?
I'm with that. I think we're going to take it. I think we're going to do it in 6.
6 games?
We're good on the road. We struggle at home.
Any particular matchup that stands out to you in this series that you're going to truly be paying attention to?
Brunson and
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we need Juju not to try to play hero ball. If he plays hero ball, we will not win.
Yes, that is a concern of mine in any and all playoff games with that dynamic. I believe that you have to trust Jalen Brunson. I don't think they lose a lot when Quickly's in the game, and you're going to see scenarios where they're both on the court in fourth quarters. I feel very good about the Knicks point guard situation. I feel very good about the matchups I believe the Knicks win this inside of 6. I'm going to go out and just say it. Knicks win game 1. Cleveland ties it. Knicks win both at the Garden. Knicks will probably drop game 5 to a desperate Cleveland team. And in game 6, they will wrap it up at MSG.
How long is Julius and Jalen out for?
I think it's more maintenance with Jalen. Julius, I am myself a bit curious to see how far along that's going to be. But if you notice, there has been no panic in me. I have made this very clear. I think the Knicks offense moves better without Julius Randle.
Jalen Brunson is being coached by his mom. I'm fine.
I think the X factor for the series is going to be Obi Toppin, to be honest with you. That's going to be the difference. I want to see how they handle him. Josh Hart, I love that he's coming off the bench.
But expended minutes, even in a defeat in a game that didn't count. I like what I saw to Obi Toppin today.
He looked good. And then it's just a matter of who's going to slow down Donovan Mitchell for the Knicks. Or do you put Jalen on him, or do you put Quentin Grimes on him? So there's a lot.
To be very honest, I feel that if the Knicks are in a situation where Donovan Mitchell goes off, the strategy is to make sure that nobody else is going off with him. And I do have a feeling that that's what we may very well see.
Yeah, I'm not going to put Brunson on him. I'd still Grimes on him because that's just too much work.
Yeah, I'm more worried about Brunson taking care of the other side of things, and I do feel that player for player, scheme for scheme, team for team, I think the Knicks have a better defense, and I think that's the reason they're going to win this game. I think the Knicks are a more physical team than them. I think that's why they're going to win this series.
So if he can spell Brunson, he can shoot.
Knicks in 6 says Idris and I. Zappy says Knicks in 7. So we all have the Knicks advancing to the second round. Now, if that is the case, that would set up a matchup with the Milwaukee Bucks, according to us. That would set up a Knicks-Bucks 7-game matchup. Zappy, I'm going to let you start that off.
So like I was saying, this is a hard one, and it's no hate or disrespect towards the Knicks team. This is just credit to how good this Milwaukee Bucks team is. Bucks in 5. They have played well against New York all season. You look at what Giannis is doing right now. You look at this team; they're a good basketball team. And don't get me wrong, but when you have to play a 7-game series, that can come back and hurt you. And we all say the Bucks sweep. You guys say 6, I say 7. That takes a toll on players. That takes a big toll on players, especially on players that are going through nagging injuries right now, which most teams are. But those are just things that you cannot discredit. Like I said, I like the Knicks. I do. I just do not think they match up very well against this Bucks team. If they were playing against Boston in the second round, then I could easily see the Knicks moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. But going against the Bucks, no, I can't see it. It's really hard for me to see it.
Yeah. Of course, as a fan, I would say Knicks in 7. But the matchup, Giannis is hard to stop.
It's not an ideal matchup by any means.
It's hard to stop. I mean, the guy, he's just hard to stop. I'll put it that way. And I don't think we have anyone who could really match up with him. We would have to double team.
Yeah, you're going to have to get creative with a lot of different defensive looks. I said it earlier today. I say it again now. Reason I think the Knicks would have a chance is because one thing about Milwaukee is that a lot of times everything runs through Giannis, and when that happens, other guys tend to disappear in that offense. And that is definitely something that could occur. I will say this, though. Knicks got to play better defense in general. I am not exactly endeared with the way the Knicks have played defense the past week or so. I know the playoffs bring on a completely different animal, but they need to play better on defense, whether they're playing Cleveland, Milwaukee, anybody for that matter. Idris, what is your prediction on that series should the Knicks and Bucks play in round 2?
Bucks in 6. If I'm not going to go home, I'll say Bucks in 6.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Bucks in 6 as well. I'm going to have the Knicks stealing game 1, which would get everybody revved, but I think the Knicks hand it back in the Garden. And
I think we'll snatch 2.
I got 2 Garden losses for the Knicks in this series. I have a feeling that it's going to be fourth quarters that do the Knicks in that series. We shall see. This one, travel time rather low here and short. Philadelphia Sixers taking on the Brooklyn Nets, 3 versus 6. This would have had a lot more juice if Ben Simmons was healthy. And I guess the question is, can the Sixers finally get to the finals on the back of Joel Embiid? This could be a pivotal proving year for head coach Doc Rivers as well.
It's a very pivotal year for Doc Rivers. This is an MVP type season for Joel Embiid, but this is a team that is sitting there right there, number 3. And the way I look at the East is 1 and 2, 3, but 1 and 2 have really separated themselves from the pack. And then there's 3 and 5. Sixers, I like them. They're going to win this series. You know, the Nets, obviously, the whole experiment with Kyrie, KD, James Harden, and Ben Simmons, and so on and so forth, Blake Griffin, and the amount of players they went on and signed did not work. No, it came close. It came real close a couple of years ago in the Eastern Conference Finals when they lost to the eventual championship.
It was actually round 2. But
round 2, that's right.
If KD doesn't step on the line, the Nets win that series.
They win that series,
and maybe win the finals. Maybe.
And we could always say if Kawhi doesn't make that shot against the Sixers, then the Warriors probably win that series. So there's a lot of what ifs, but nevertheless, this Brooklyn team went out. They traded KD. They got a good haul back in return, and the same with Kyrie.
And it's not going to show the instant reward. That's going to be
it's
sign of what that looks like.
And it won't be this year, obviously. The Sixers are a better team this year. They're a much better team. Who do you put on Joel Embiid? You really don't have anyone that can stop him. Embiid's going to have his type of series where he's going to average 30 and 10 and probably 8. So he's going to have himself a good series. Brooklyn, it was easy for you to get into the playoffs because you won so many games early in the year. So other than that, I think this is going to be a quick series for Brooklyn. Maybe they could sneak away 1 game. So I'm going to give the Sixers in 5. But
I'm going for a clean sweep for Philly. And I think James Harden is going to ball out because this is a little personal to him.
With me, I think it's going to come down to James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
He disappeared every time he's been in the playoffs.
And that's another reason I think he's actually gonna rise to the occasion for this series.
I'm gonna give Brooklyn props because they still hung on despite all the nonsense that went on with KD, Ben Simmons, James Harden, all that stuff. They still hung on. Against Philly, they're gonna have a problem. However, I had them upset.
Yeah, I agree. So we all are in favor of Philly advancing here?
No.
You got Brooklyn winning this thing? Oh, hell no.
what?
I can't stand Brooklyn. You know what? I'm going to tell you why. I've always seen the 3 seed in the NBA like the 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. At any time.
But the 5 seed always does. Oh, okay, that's right. The 12 seeds are always doing good. Yeah, okay. I see that.
I'm going Brooklyn in 7.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we have a couple of different scenarios to speak on here.
That's going to bring up the whole, where does Doc Rivers coach next? Is Joel Embiid traded? There's a lot of questions that will arise if Brooklyn is able to pull off this series win. That would be unbelievable.
I don't like Brooklyn, y'all. I still don't like y'all.
I don't see them doing it. That would be a shock to me, but crazier things have happened. Nothing crazier than when the Denver Nuggets beat the Seattle Sonics years ago. Okay, my scenario in Zappy's. Should the 76ers advance, they will be playing the Boston Celtics. Who do you like in that series, Zappy? I'll talk directly to you since Idris would have a different winner. Who do you have there? Boston, Philly, 7 games.
Boston.
I say Boston in 6. Boston in 6.
Yeah, that's what I have. Boston in 6. Jason Tatum is on a mission.
Yeah.
I think Boston's gonna. Yeah.
Now, do you have Boston crushing the Brooklyn Nets? Should that be the scenario, Idris? Yeah, I should that your scenario come to fruition? I got Boston sweeping them out. I think best case scenario for Philly is 7 games against Boston, but probably 6. Boston in 6. Boston in 4 if they play Brooklyn.
6 against Philly. Sweep against
Brooklyn. Yeah, and that I agree. If it is Brooklyn, I could see a sweep. That
The,
would be the Nets championship is defeating. What's up? What's the news?
the Boston Bruins have made NHL history with their 63rd win of the season. That is an NHL record. It's going to really hurt when the Rangers beat them in round 2.
That's after David Pastrnak's hat trick. Wow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's crazy.
Yeah, congrats to the Bruins. I don't like that team. I do respect them, but you got to give credit where it's due.
Yeah.
They have been the best all year. But, in that Eastern Conference, you cannot count out the Tampa Bay Lightning. Okay, so we have the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks Eastern Conference Finals. I'll put it to you like this. I'm going to speak for Brett here because he did speak to me about it today. Brett has that as the Eastern Conference Finals, and he has Boston winning that series in 7 hard-fought games. Idris, your opinion. Boston, Milwaukee.
Bucks. I see the Bucks, man. Too strong. Middleton, they're going to be healthy, man. Last year they wouldn't help you all the way, but
They weren't.
I've got the Bucks in 7 myself. I got the Bucks winning that series inside of 7 games. It's going to be a classic series.
Bucks 6.
And each team is going to have road wins in this. It's not going to just be the home team winning games. They're going to be road wins in this series as well.
It's going to be road wins, and I agree. I think the Bucks will win Game 7 and win their last home game of the Eastern Conference playoffs because that is a very, very evenly matched series. You can make a strong argument for either one of those teams to advance. I can't argue against Brett saying Boston in 7. I can't because if we're all saying Bucks in 7 or Boston in 7, that just means how evenly matched that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a close series. But yes, I got the Bucks dethroning the Celtics as the Eastern Conference champions. We're gonna flip it over to the Western Conference. This is our first play-in we're gonna speak on here. We've got the New Orleans Pelicans taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. The winner will draw the 1-seeded Denver Nuggets, held by potential MVP, the Joker, Nikola Jokic. There is definitely.
thinking about wrestling, huh?
I almost slipped, bro, because I've been doing all this WWE humor and references lately. I did almost slip. Yeah, I used to sing the Soviet anthem in front of. Just pissed off fans at the Philadelphia Spectrum, as well as an MSG. Usually he would get hit with a 2x4 by the great Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Everything.
Yeah. That's when they were really pushing that Cold War on us. At any rate, not Volkov, Jokic. It will be waiting in the wings to see who wins this series. I'll tell you what, man. I actually like Oklahoma City here. I like Oklahoma City, and I actually think they're going to win by double digits. I got them winning this 11. I'm going to go 112-101 in favor of Oklahoma City.
I agree. I think they will. I think it'll be more 115, 109, something like that.
Yeah, the Pelicans to me just have too many things working against them at all the wrong times right now.
Yeah.
And opening the show, Zappy had alluded to an injury to their best player. I just don't see it. I don't see them sustaining much here. And that spread might actually be because maybe they have a good fourth quarter to make it respectable. I think the Thunder win this game. And the Thunder will be heading to Denver. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's really, Brandon Ingram is going to have himself a game in order for this team to.
And that's the thing. It's just one game. It's not even a best of 3. So you literally have to play your game that one night.
You gotta go all out.
Yeah, you have to. And CJ McCollum, he's been in this situation a few times in his career. You still have Jonas Valanciunas on that team as well with the Pelicans, but I truly believe not having Zion in the lineup is going to hurt them.
Yeah, sure.
I understand they have the game at home in New Orleans, but all in all, those two teams were actually very close all together throughout the year. New Orleans did win 3 of the games, but yeah, I'm going to go OKC on this one too. I think OKC is going to be able to sneak away a win in New Orleans and get ready for their eventual demise against Denver.
And when you're a 9 and a 10, it doesn't really matter who's the home team because there's a lot of mediocrity to be spread along the way. We're all in agreement that the Oklahoma City Thunder will be advancing. against the one-seeded Denver Nuggets.
Hey, go to Zion right quick. And I was
Yeah.
to the Knicks fans.
Oh yeah, they've been begging to sign this guy, make a trade for this guy. Yeah.
I hope we don't get Zion.
Mm-mm.
Oh, you don't know. I said
There's that connection with RJ, and I get it.
Yeah, but this is why I said it. I said no. I said I'm glad we didn't. I said if I was New Orleans, I would just pay him to go away. He reminds me of John Wall. I would pay him to go away. You've been out more than you played. You hadn't played 82 games yet.
Right.
You're great when you play, but it's when you play.
Right. Okay, so that essentially means
There's not much to speak on this series.
yeah. OKC runs into Denver. Best case scenario, and I mean the best case scenario, OKC steals a game. I don't see it happening. Nuggets in 4, no issues, no problems.
I think they'll still win.
Still 1? Okay.
I think they'll be like, we're up 3-0. Let's rest a little bit. Then we'll take them out next time we play them.
Yeah, I think the Nuggets don't really find problems until round 2. I'm going sweep. Idris says 5. Zappy, your thoughts?
Oh, sweep. Denver, the difference this year and last year with Denver and them in the playoffs is last year they didn't have Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr. This year they do. It showed big time last year in the playoffs against the Warriors, missing those 2 key pieces. As long as this Denver Nuggets team stays healthy, they're going to easily sweep OKC, and I think they'll easily advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. Or I'm sorry, Western Conference Finals.
All right, so we got Denver at minimum going to the second round. Now we've got a very polarizing team that we're going to speak on next. We got the Los Angeles Lakers. They're going to be playing the Memphis Grizzlies without Ja Morant, a team that I actually think is playing better without Ja.
Oh, you're just jumping straight to Memphis. Oh, you didn't give Minnesota any chance.
They've already fight each other on the court today.
Yeah, I was going to say, watching Rudy Gobert gets tossed and his teammate goes and walks into the tunnel and fractures his wrist from punching the wall, Minnesota.
Punches him on the sideline and he goes at him.
This is my opinion. I think Minnesota's the better team than the Lakers, but this is how I think it plays out. Lakers will probably be trailing like by 7 or 8 with about 6 minutes left in their season. They're going to make a comeback. Then on the final possession, while trailing by a point, there will be a fart. LeBron is going to make a face like he's inhaled something that just smelled kind of just raucous. That'll send him to the line for 2 free throws on the win.
And they're gonna call it a foul because they don't want to see another LeBron situation like the way he was against Boston.
Yeah, that was
in finals, dude.
Oh my! I'm like, if you think that's a foul, you should have seen the clotheslines that Bill Laimbeer was putting on MJ.
Those weren't even clothesline. Those were decapitations.
Yeah,
those were the guillotines, man.
It's interesting because I asked myself this, or I'll ask you, gentlemen, a situation like we saw today with Rudy Gobert and the Minnesota Timberwolves fighting amongst each other during today's game.
Right.
Is that going to hype them up to be able to come out and go into LA and win that game, or is that going to separate the locker room moving forward?
I don't think it's going to separate the locker room. I think.
I mean, for the final game, of course.
I think families fight. I just don't think they're going to win the game. I think the Lakers are going to find a way to win, and if they don't, I think they're going to find a way to get them to win.
I'm going with Minnesota, man. I think that's going to hype them up, man.
Yeah, that's what I was getting with. Is I'm actually taking the T-Wolves to win this game.
Okay.
I'm just taking the win too.
Should the T-Wolves win?
So it can happen that way because you know how they want LeBron,
And Anthony Edwards wants this game. This is a guy that has said he's going to be the GOAT when it's all
he's
said and done.
He's the guy, and the reason why I want the T-Wolves to win. I just don't think they will, but I think the world of him. In my scenario, should the Lakers defeat the Timberwolves, you might not like this, but I actually have them going into Memphis and winning inside of 6 games. I have a feeling that they're going to catch Memphis flat. And I think the Lakers are going to find themselves with an upset victory over Well, I wouldn't consider Minnesota an upset, but most definitely would consider if they beat Memphis an upset. I think the Lakers are beating both these teams, and that is my prediction. The Lakers are going to advance. You guys already have the Lakers dead to rights, so break down your scenario.
Go ahead, Idris.
Memphis does play better without Ja.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
When Ja went down, they were 21-3.
Right.
You know, when he came back, they started struggling. You know, see what happened in the playoffs. I think Minnesota can beat them. I think they can beat them. They're very good defensively. I think they can beat. It depends on what's going on inside Memphis' head. But I'm looking for Minnesota to get by Memphis. 7.
So you got Minnesota beating the Lakers, beating the Grizz. I've got the Lakers beating Minnesota, beating the Grizz. So basically, we both have one of these playing guys advancing. Zappy, your thoughts?
I think Memphis is too good a basketball team with or without Ja Morant. They're a better team without Ja, but they're still a good team with them.
Okay.
And whether it's them against the Lakers or them against the T-Wolves, I think they're going to advance to the next round. I like this team. They're a very well-coached team, and they play all around basketball. That's the one thing about them is anyone at any night can take over that game for them. And that's something that should not be taken lightly. I will say this, though. While I do have Minnesota beating the Lakers, I do believe if it was the Lakers playing against Memphis, then the Lakers have a better chance. I like the way the Lakers match up against Memphis than the way the Minnesota does. So if it was the Lakers, then I think they would give Memphis a run where it could possibly go 7. And I think the Lakers could possibly pull that off. I wouldn't be surprised. But if it's Minnesota, no, I think Memphis will win that series in 6.
Yeah, Lakers give them a matchup problem. Sure. Experience, especially.
Yeah.
I think the Lakers are going to stick around in this tournament for at least a little while. We'll see how it plays out. But so basically, Zap, your scenario has Memphis winning because you don't have the Lakers winning. Idris, your scenario has the T-Wolves advancing.
What I saw today with them against the Jazz, and the Jazz don't have anybody, and they let the Jazz hang around. And that, you're trying to move up, man, and they pull away at the very end, but.
I get that. I get it. I get where you're going. We're going to see how that plays out. So we're going to have a few more talking points because we don't agree on that round. The Phoenix Suns taking on the LA Clippers. This could potentially be the best series of the first round in the West, the first round in general. I call it a career-defining situation for Kevin Durant in terms of the legacy. I feel that he has to win there. CP3, this is potentially his last real shot to do it. You got Devin Booker over there. I don't see a scenario where the Suns lose this series. I think the Clippers are a talented team. I think the Suns are better. I got the Suns winning this in 6. And I have a feeling that Kevin Durant's going to have a hell of a series.
The Clippers have so much talent, man.
They do. And they're the best team in LA. I'll give them that right now.
It's like they just can't. Phoenix should win this in 6. They should win it in 6. I'm picking them to win it in 6, but I got a feeling.
And I mean, we've seen glimmers of this from the Clippers going back to a bit ago when they took out Utah.
Yeah.
We've seen it in spurts with them, but we've also seen the inconsistencies in playoff basketball that are not going to get you anything.
But you know
I just trust the Suns more. They're only 2 years removed from being in the NBA Finals.
But you know what? That being said, they should win in 6. But I'm picking the Clippers.
Oh, no. He's picking the Clippers. All right.
I know I sound crazy. I hadn't had anything to drink. I don't drink. I ain't smoked nothing. I'm just letting the world know I'm not an indulger. All I had was a couple slices of pizza today.
Idris Salam will no longer be a member of the show effectively. Zappy, your thoughts, man? Idris and I are at odds on this.
I think there's more pressure on the Phoenix Suns than there is on the Los Angeles Clippers, for one.
I give you that.
The Phoenix Suns, this is a career-defining moment for not only Kevin Durant, but also for Chris Paul. This is the best talent Chris Paul has played with in his very, very good career. You know, you can look at the years when he was with the Clippers. They were good teams. But you now have Devin Booker. You have Kevin Durant. You have DeAndre Ayton. You have the inside-outside game. But you gave up your team depth to be able to be that team. Yes, if it was a 5-on-5 only Clippers versus Suns, I'm taking the Suns all day.
Doesn't it kind of sound like the situation in Brooklyn when they first tried to work that big three, where they had those big three but didn't have much behind them? Sounds similar.
Sounds very similar. I like this Clippers team. The reason why is Kawhi Leonard and Kawhi Leonard alone. He's got that killer mentality in him, and it's playoff time. They didn't make the playoffs last year. Kawhi missed last season. I think this Clipper team is going to be a dangerous team. Phoenix, the experiment, it hasn't. I don't know if it necessarily has worked yet because KD, of course, was hurt. Then he finally plays, and then is hurt again. And Chris Paul's been in and out of the lineup. I don't think this team is over. I think Chris Paul, this is it for him.
Oh yeah.
I just don't think Phoenix can beat the Clippers. I'm taking the Clippers to win this series in 7.
All right. So if you guys are correct, what do you see the Clippers doing in the next round? That's the end of the Clippers after this. Is that what I'm hearing? If the Clippers advance, Zappy, what do you think happens next? Zappy's froze, didn't he?
Yeah, they're done. Let me read a stat for Russell Westbrook.
There you go.
Over the last the Suns, Trailblazers, and Lakers, he's averaging 22 points a game, 43% field goal shooting, 30% on threes, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, 1.66 steals. He's playing pretty well with the Clippers.
He's been playing great with the Clippers.
Playing well with the Clippers.
And you know what? My favorite image of Russ ever since his being with the Clippers was him flipping off LeBron.
Yep.
That's been one of the best images I've seen. I think that's right up there with Adesanya holding the arrow over Pereira last night.
He shot
Seeing that image of Russ, it's like, all right, I got to get that poster because that
home, man.
Yeah. Russ told the world what all his former teammates think of LeBron James.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at that.
He wasn't pleased with that experience in LA. So
you get another shot at Kevin Durant too.
Yes, indeed. That's interesting as well. It should have go down that way. So you guys have the Clippers advancing. What are they going to do after that?
So based on my scenario, I can't tell you yet because I got to give you the rest of my playoff predictions because of the way since it's not an actual bracket, it's the top seed plays the lowest seed. So right now, so I have to cover the rest of them in order to be able to say whoever the Clippers are going to play. And then we can come back to it.
We've got an upset coming next, guys. The Sacramento Kings against the Golden State Warriors. Can the Warriors figure out their road woes and defend their title? Steph Curry is chasing Ring 5, which would tie him with the legendary Irvin Magic Johnson. All right.
Bryant.
This is my prediction. I think you're going to look at potentially the highest scoring series in these playoffs. And I also think you're going to be potentially looking at a 7-game series. My prediction, Kings storm out to a 2-0 lead. The scene switches out to Golden State. Warriors tie it. Kings up 3-2. Now we're going back to Golden State, 3-3. And I think this comes down to another heartbreaker in Sacramento. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and co. draining the 3-ball in the 4th, putting it away, and winning the one road game they had to win, advancing to the next round. Experience over ambition here is what I'm going to call this. Warriors beat a very good Kings team. Warriors advance.
I'm going Warriors in 6, man. Kings can score some points, but they can't stop any score.
Yeah, I think it's going to be wide open. This is going to remind people of like some of those old school Warrior games where it was a different way, but still very offensive driven. When I run TMC is where I'm going. It's going to be like Up and down, up and down. You're going to see a lot of offensive action. But yeah, I like the Warriors. Idris likes the Warriors. Zappy, your thoughts?
They're gonna take the first one in sack. There it is.
Yeah, I didn't think you were going to go the other way.
No, it's the Warriors are playing good basketball right now, and they got the matchup I thought they needed to get in order to bring Andrew Wiggins back into their system. He's about to be back for the playoffs. This Warriors team, this has been the same team out of the Western Conference since 2015, if you really think about it. They're not done yet. They're not. And whenever you allow a Warriors team like this to win the last 2 games on the road, no matter who they're playing, it builds your confidence. I think the Warriors are going to go into Sacramento and steal game 1. Then they will lose game 2. Game 3 and 4 will be wins by the Warriors. Game 5 will be a win by the Kings, and the Warriors will close out the series at the hands of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and company in 6 at home. Yeah.
We all agree that the Warriors are advancing. Before we have about a little under 15 minutes left, so what I'd like to do, I want to hit on a newsworthy topic that rolled about an hour and a half ago. Odell Beckham Jr. is a member of the Baltimore Ravens. Want to speak on this for a second? Then we're going to get our finals predictions for all of us here. I'm kind of surprised, man. When I see the amount of money that he could make in terms of driven incentives, there's a couple of ways to look at this. I'm going to give you the shortest version possible. We all know about the Lamar Jackson situation. We all know about his displeasure with the organization. I think by bringing in an Odell, the Ravens are trying to show him, hey, we're trying to help you here. He might not be the Odell Beckham that was a New York Giant, but he's still Odell Beckham, and he could still help this team do some special things. In the end, Lamar is going to play this year with the Ravens, whether he's happy or not. But as far as the trajectory of the trade, I think it's a little silly that Baltimore is offering him that in incentives. I don't think it's wise. That's the reason he went there. This isn't about Rodgers. Rodgers is still going to be a Jet. OBJ wasn't going to get this kind of money from the Jets, and that's why he went to Baltimore. He's trying to recoup the money he left on the table by getting traded from the Giants and by leaving Cleveland with that Giant money. He left a lot of money on the table. He's trying to recoup some of that in his twilight. That is my thoughts there.
Just goes to show Jerry Jones wasn't lying.
No, man. No.
Jerry doesn't lie. I mean, if there's one thing is he's a good salesman.
Yeah.
But when he says something, he tends to be on it.
Yeah, I'm blown away a little bit that when I saw 18 million out now, it doesn't mean he's guaranteed to make that. It's incentives driven, but still, you know.
And it's a situation where OBJ had been saying he's a $20 million receiver. And he thought Jerry was going to give it to him because Jerry used to many, many, many years ago be that guy that would just pay out the money. But now he doesn't do that. Now that team is negotiated the correct way, and they're only going to give the rosters or the contracts to who they believe deserves it.
You know what's wild? Him hanging out. Was it Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase that he hung out with yesterday? It was Joe Burrow, right?
Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Joey Bosa.
That is pretty wacky. I mean, I know that a lot of these guys are friends. But you're hanging out with one of the best Bengal, and the next day you're signing with the rival. Very, very interesting stuff.
The only part I found interesting was not so much that OBJ was hanging out with Burrow and Justin Jefferson because the three of them do have that LSU connection.
Oh, indeed.
When you throw Bosa in there, I'm like, why is he there? Like, what connection does he have with them?
I don't know, man. With Jerry Jones, I think he's not a good owner, but he's a hell of a GM because he knows who to sign. He knows where to throw the money. Guys,
usually.
But he's a good businessman. So I give him that.
I think he gets more checks than minuses, but there's a big contingent in the Dallas fan base that thinks they're never going to win one with him. I'm not in the Dallas fan base. I do kind of share that sentiment, though. We're going to see where that goes with Dallas. Also, OBJ is a Raven. Hey, man, he's always been a guy that the media follows around, so it will be entertaining. He's always been entertaining in that regard. We got coming up on the 11-minute mark. I want your guys' finals predictions. Who's coming out of each conference? We've basically all agreed, with the exception of Idris. Was it you and I both took the Bucks, correct, Zappy? Out east.
All three of us took.
All three of us took. Okay. All three of us took the Bucks. Break down this Western Conference. You guys got about 10 minutes or so. How you see it shaking out?
Go ahead, Idris.
I thought you called you Regis. Oh, wow.
I definitely said Idris.
I think you said Regis.
All right, Regis.
I'll take Regis, but it's cool. I picked Denver at the when the season started. I had Golden State. I have to stick with my pick, but I think it's going to come down to Golden State and the Bucks, like it should have been last year. That's a good matchup. Like I said, Giannis is the man in the middle. He's a man who's going to come down the court. Take two giant steps for man, two big steps for the Bucks. You got to stop that. You have to stop it. They're gonna have to. The Bucks gonna have to try to stop Clay and Steph doing what they do when playoff time comes. And you got Wiggins doing his thing inside, outside. It's gonna be a great. That's if Golden State gets it. See, I got Golden State in my head.
All right. So you had Denver winning, right? And then you had Memphis losing to Minnesota.
Yeah.
So Minnesota's playing the Warriors. You have the Warriors winning that series, and then that means you have the Clippers playing the Nuggets.
Yeah. Nuggets
Who's winning that one, and who are the Warriors playing in the Western Conference Finals?
Nuggets and
Nuggets and Golden State. See, I have the Nuggets playing the Warriors in the second round, and I have the Grizzlies playing the Clippers in the second round. And I think it's going to be a Clippers versus Golden State Western Conference Finals. So that's what's crazy about it is.
Yeah, with the different scenarios, I'm with Idris on one thing here. My preseason prediction was the Bucks and the Golden State Warriors. I certainly didn't expect that the Golden State Warriors would struggle to the length that they have on the road. It doesn't sway me from my pick, though. It doesn't sway me from my belief that Steve Kerr can get these guys to play at a championship level and that Steph Curry can facilitate that as the leader that he is. Golden State will be in the finals. They will play the Milwaukee Bucks, but that's where the Bucks stops. I think the Milwaukee Bucks are raising their second championship since 2021.
I've got to stick to everything I've been saying. I believe this Warrior team was starting another dynasty when they won last year, and I'm sticking to it. Going into the season, I had Bucks versus Warriors. You're talking about Steve Kerr. He is without question the best coach in the playoffs right now. You've got arguably two of the greatest shooters on the same team, one of the greatest defensive players to ever play the game. You have a great player in Andrew Wiggins that could do it both ways. The Warriors bench has gotten better, especially going out and acquiring a Gary Payton Jr. I think the Warriors are going to pull it off. I think they're going to win another one, be back-to-back champs, and be chasing that third ring next year. Because I don't care what happened in the regular season. Regular season's over. What I look at is one thing, and I look at the playoff experience. In the West, the Warriors are the best, the most experienced, the most battle-tested, everything you want a basketball team to be in the playoffs.
I want to see this finals if it's not the Knicks in there, of course, because this is a matchup, to Idris's point, that should have happened last year. Sorry, Idris, go ahead.
You can argue that Steve Kerr is the greatest player coach ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a far-fetched theory because Pat Riley wasn't really a great player. He played, but he wasn't a good player. Steve Kerr, at least you remember him playing.
6 as a player, or was it 7? He had 5 as a coach.
Yeah, because he also had victories with the San Antonio Spurs in addition to his Chicago Bulls run.
Right. So
good point. Good point.
He has 11.
He's got 11. No, there's no question about it. And it also helps whenever you were under the tutelage of Phil Jackson, whenever you're under the tutelage of Popovich. You know, this guy has been around masterminds of the game itself. You know, there's a reason why Mark Jackson was fired after losing Game 6 against the Spurs in the 2014 playoffs. There's a reason why he was fired. There's a reason why Steve Kerr was promoted to the position of head coach because he had it. He had it. He's just one of those guys that had it in him.
With Phil Jackson, and a lot of people say, well, Michael Jordan was coached by a Hall of Fame coach. Before Phil Jackson became a coach, he worked in the CBA. He was the assistant coach under Doug Collins, and they were a playoff team. Mm-hmm. When he took over Chicago, he was not a championship coach.
Nope.
So that's why people no. Jordan wasn't coached by a championship coach. He became a championship coach.
They grew into champions together. I agree with, when you started getting the likes of Horace Grant in there, Scottie Pippen in there.
Mentor is the mastermind.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one, the triangle.
Yeah, the triangle offense, which was also applied even in his LA days.
Didn't work in the Knicks though, because you know why? Knicks went to time.
Yeah. Phil, when he got to the Knicks, it wasn't the right fit, nor was Zeke. The Knicks made a lot of horrific moves over the course of many a different year. That's why I'm excited about these playoffs. The Knicks are finally doing things the right way. I will say this, and I did pick the Bucks to beat the Knicks in round 2. Should the Knicks somehow defeat the Bucks, I do believe that they're going to the finals because I do believe that they're going to beat the Celtics. That much I will say, but unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get that matchup this year.
I agree.
Anything you want to say on the way out? We are approaching the 4.5 minute mark.
Oh, just, NBA playoffs are finally here. That just means we're one step closer to the NFL draft, one step closer to the NFL season. I think this is one of the first times in a while that we don't know who the clear winner is going to be in the NBA. That's the other beautiful thing about it. What's that?
Tampa Bay Rays, 9-0, one of the 13 teams who started.
Yeah, good shout over there, Idris. They have not had the stiffest competition, but I'm going to give them all the credit because this year in Major League Baseball, everybody plays everybody.
They beat Detroit, though.
Yeah. Detroit's not as bad as they have been, but around here.
You know why.
Yeah.
Well, hey.
They beat Detroit, they beat Oakland. They haven't been tested just that much yet.
Well, their next 7 games.
I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're saying.
Look at their next 7 games, though. They got 4 at home against Boston, and then they have to travel to Toronto. When is their first loss coming?
It's coming in Boston. Boston's gonna win 1 at least.
I think they'll get 1.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna. I don't know, man. I'm trying to look at Boston. I'm looking at who they have pitching against them, and I'm like, all right, they're definitely not going to win tomorrow, and they're not going to win Tuesday, but they have to face Sale and then Kluber on Wednesday and Thursday. It could possibly come then, but if not, it's going to be a while. Go!
Kluber has a background with the Rays in addition to with the Yankees, but more pertinent for this series, the Rays. So yes, indeed, I think Boston gives them their first loss, but the Rays will still win that series. Their first series loss will come at the hands of Toronto. That's my genuine opinion.
Kluber will. I think Kluber will.
Okay.
Kluber. Yeah, if there's anyone, I think it'll be Kluber just because of the history. Yeah,
Chris Sale's just been so awful and so injured for just a while. I'm really in shock about this Odell move. I did not see it coming. But I still think the Jets are going to get Aaron Rodgers. I know a lot of Jet fans are probably freaking out right now because, they just assumed he was going to get everything on his wish list.
Right, we're not getting OBJ now? Come on.
Guess what I met today?
Who did you meet today?
A guy who was a Washington fan who is now a Jets fan.
What?
I was like, he converted 2 years ago. I'm like, they were bad 2 years ago.
That's like going from.
Hey, yeah.
Drink the toilet water from.
Yeah. Look. I would much rather somebody goes from Washington to the Jets than a Buffalo Bills fan going to the Patriots or a Cowboys fan going to the Steelers or 49ers.
Yeah, that's weird.
At least, I don't want to call him a bandwagon fan because he's going to a worse team. So
that's what I don't understand the logic because I always say I'd rather be a has-been than a never was.
Yeah, so at least he's doing that part where he's going to a bad team. But
told me that he said, "Man, I used to be a Skins fan, but when they changed their name, man, I went to and I looked at I said, okay."
And then I get that.
They sat on that weak ass name for 2 years to name him that.
But he said it wasn't so much the name change. He said it's like they just got worse.
Well, yeah, that too. Well, let's
a name, man, and I couldn't deal with not having a name.
Idris, I still had baby teeth last time that team won a Super Bowl. I mean, come on, man. It's been a long time, dude.
It's been even last time the Jets won the Super Bowl, Idris had baby teeth. So yeah,
right.
So so I can't get mad at that. I can't get mad at a guy like that. This is not a guy that was jumping.
Coming up on
55 seconds.
All right.
Hey, look, finish it off here, strong boys. NBA season. It's over. It's time for the playoffs. You know, we love this stuff. Now we can get ready for our NFL mock draft, which I think is going to be a lot of fun.
That will be fun. By the way, Q wants to be on that show. Already spoke to him about that, so we are going to get more into that. And I talked to Q about getting a couple of his friends on as well. For the panel, Mr. Idris Salam, Mr. Mike Zappy, we appreciate you watching the show. NBA playoffs on the horizon.
Let's go.
Till next time, we are out.